my God, it must be that time of the month again. Yes, it's time for Talking Bollocks. It is time for Talking of the Bollocks with me, your host, Howard H. Smith. Welcome. Welcome to the shittest podcast there is about metal. I mean, if this is the first time you've listened, probably best to pack up now. Just go find another podcast where, you know, it's just the usual reviews and the usual interviews. This is going to be just too much for you to handle. This is Talking Bollocks. Welcome. My name is Howard H. Smith. I am the host. It is my podcast. I am also lead singer in UK thrash band Acid Rain. Going into the studio very soon to record our new album. I'll do the update in a bit. Also, stand-up comedian. You can find my character Keith Platt on all social media. You can find Acid Rain on all social media. And you can find Talking Bollocks on all social media. And please subscribe to a podcast app if you can. And if you while you're at it, subscribe to YouTube, and while you're at it, why not subscribe to Patreon? That's right, patreon.com/Howard H. Smith. Where I'm doing my online begging, and you can give me for $5 a month. You get a shitload of exclusive content that's not available anywhere else, as regards the podcast, as regards Acid Rain 2, all sorts of bits and pieces. But hey, enough from me, because later on we're going to be hearing from Nick Russell about what great value that $5 is. Yes, that's right. I have got on the podcast to interview one of my Patreon subscribers to tell you all how great it is, just in case you thought I was full of shit. Well, you'd be right, but not about this apparently. It's a little 10-minute advert. Come on, you can skip past it if you really want. I'm going to put it towards the end of the podcast so you can listen to all your wonderful interviews first, and you can ignore it if you want. But what the hell? Why not listen and find out what you're missing out on for $5, which is about £3.80 in real money? Come on, a month, really? If only 100 of you decided to listen to this and subscribe, right, I could, buy a new car. No, not really. It'd make things a lot easier, and it would certainly help with the podcast. So if you want to do it, subscribe. Anyway, that's enough. You're going to get enough of that later. So, welcome. Yes, album update on behalf of Acid Rain. As previously mentioned, I think Colin Richardson is coming in to co-produce along with Jace Lewis, who we worked with for The Man Who Became Himself. He's put together an awesome production team for the album, and it's going to be great fun. We're going in end of July, probably be in the studio most of August, bit of September as well. So it's all happening in the Acid Rain camp. Absolutely no idea when the album will come out, because once it's finished, we've got to shop for a deal, then we've got to agree a deal, and then we've got to fit into a label's release schedule. So fuck knows when any album will be out. There you go. That's the album update over with. Anyway, welcome to Talking Bollocks. I've already said that, haven't I? Yeah, bit repetitive already. As well, and you're bound to expect that kind of pathetic unprofessionalism from this podcast as he goes some more. How annoying is that? Very annoying. So there's another one. Right, okay, that's my mission, is to not my way through this podcast, because that is fucking annoying, as anybody who's listened to a podcast where somebody does that a lot would agree. What have we got? Well, first of all, it's a plea. It's a plea to Rob Trujillo and Kirk Hammett. Please stop with your so-called little doodles during your Metallica set. You can go online, you can go on YouTube, and you can find these two guys doing little doodles, which apparently, hey, come on guys, it's just a bit of fun, we're told. It's a party. No, Rob, it's a gig. Not necessarily a party, then, is it? I mean, I haven't paid £100 to go to an arena for a party before, and so I would say no, it's pretty much a gig, and that doesn't mean that you and Kirk can try and play a song from a local band, and when I say local, I mean in that country. We had Rob Trujillo and Kirk Hammett did a little version of Take On Me by A-ha. It was fucking awful. Horrendous. hideous, along with a number of other ones. I just think it's not really a very good idea. But then again, they are still doing that huge drum thing, which they effectively have ripped off from Sepultura 10 years ago, which I've already mentioned, so my apologies for that. But just Rob and Kirk, please stop. And speaking of arenas, wow, this is almost professional. Speaking of arenas, yes, as previously feared on the podcast, Slayer have put a final tour lineup together that is All right, I'll explain that pain in a bit. Actually, I'll explain it now. 2 days ago, I had a bike accident, a push bike accident. I was coming back from a gig I was doing. It was late at night. I'd actually cycled there because it was quite local. And it was at night on a path that is not well lit. I was on the path because it's next to a dual carriageway, so it's where you're supposed to be. And we'd had a storm the previous night. It created a mudslide from the park that I was cycling next to, that had seeped out from one of its entrances onto the pavement. Didn't see it at night. Black. Cycle past. 1 minute I'm on the bike. Next minute I'm on the ground. Smashed my fucking helmet up good and proper, which is good because otherwise it would have been my head. But I've wrecked my shoulder, pulled all the ligaments in my shoulder, so hence the ow, because I forgot about that and held the mic with my left arm, and boy, that fucking hurts. So anyway, boo-hoo, lots of sympathy for me, not much, I would imagine. Anyway, so yes, Slayer have announced the bill. It is an arena tour. And I've got to admit, it's Anthrax, Obituary, Lamb of God, and Slayer. I've got to say, I'm really not that bothered about Obituary. I've never been a fan, simple as that. Lamb of God, as you know, as you regular listeners will know, I'm not a fan. I'm a fan of Randy Blythe, just not when he's singing. I like everything else about the dude, just not when he's singing. So, good old Dave Blythe. So yeah, that's going to be two bands anyway. And I've got to admit, my best mate messaged me and he was like, "Oh, Slayer's announced. Do you want, I'm presuming you want tickets?" And I really ummed and ahed, and I was like, arena tour, it's not where thrash belongs, that's for sure. And I was really hoping for 2 nights Brixton Academy or whatever. And then I thought, do you know what? How much pleasure have I got out of Slayer over the years? They are the live band I've seen more than any, that I haven't toured with, that is. And I just thought, do you know what? I am going. I'm going one last time. I'm paying the money. I'm going to the arena show. And I kind of got a sort of it's not all about me kind of feeling, which is quite weird for those of you listening, because everything's about me, But I kind of got that feeling that, I owe them. Along with it's going to be the last chance, but I do feel like I owe Slayer a lot. They really changed the face of music for me, along with Metallica. They were the two bands that really, really changed the face of music for me, and endured right throughout, my love of thrash. I mean, I'm looking across at my very small vinyl collection, and Repentless is in there. Now, admittedly, it was bought for me as a birthday present, but I do stick it on occasionally. Yeah, it was. I don't know. I don't want to labour the point, but that's all I can say. I just thought, do you know what? Yeah, fuck it. Besides, it's on a mate's credit card, and I'll, eventually get around to paying that off for him. But so I'm going. And speaking of Slayer and Metallica enduring, just recently, I'm very late to the party on this, 10 years late. I got hold of a copy of the non-brick-walled Death Magnetic. It's the Guitar Hero version, which is not brick-walled, and it's a different fucking album. It's a completely different album. There's texture in it. It even helps with the accusations. Oh, it just sounds like they've got a bunch of riffs and they're trying too hard. Honestly, it is such an improvement on the brick-walled version. I urge anyone listening who hasn't heard it, which was me up until about a week ago, to get a hold of it, because there's all sorts going on that you do not hear on the Brickwalled version because it's Brickwalled. So any subtleties that are going on are lost. And there is lots of subtleties on it. There's harmonies I was completely unaware of. And that's vocally, that's guitar-wise. You can hear the bass, and the bass is awesome on it. And there's something about a debut album from a Metallica bass player. It's a thankless task. I mean, Kill 'Em All, Cliff's not exactly right up there in the mix, is he? Okay, Anaesthesia Pulling Teeth aside, but he's not. And then Justice, enough said, and Death Magnetic. Yeah, Rob gets buried when it comes to the Brickwalled version. So I really, like I say, yeah. How's this? How's this for a fucking great update for you? Hey, a great update. Death Magnetic. 10 years on, Howard H. Smith is the man to give you all the latest. 10 years after everybody else. Having said that, I am going to be bringing some new music your way on this episode. I decided to. I've got one interview in the can, which is a long one, which I'm going to save for next month. So we've got Doc Coyle here on this one. We've got Godless on this one. 130 minute interview. The 10-minute Patreon interview, which frees up a little bit more time to play a couple of songs from band. I'm going to be playing you a bit of The Crown, who are back after 10 years away, and I'm going to be playing you some Mammal after a good length of time away as well too. So there you go. There's a little bit of music to come. But, of course, this section of the podcast is usually remained for me whinging and moaning about stuff. And the next thing is, and this isn't a moan about Corey Taylor, but it is a moan about fucking Blabbermouth. Absolutely. They really are trawling the net. There was an article, and it was called Corey Taylor enjoyed holiday. Fucking hell, I can't even say holidaying. What the fuck? It's my shoulder, people. Okay, I'm blaming that. It's pain management. It wears you out. Anybody of you out there, any other who get like migraines, or you've got dental pain or back pain or any kind of pain, you know what it's like. It's like you're not aware of it, but you realise you become short-tempered and you can't concentrate on things. And that's me normally, but you suddenly feel yourself feeling like really tired in the middle of the day or something like that, or you're like exceptionally like knackered at night and you've got to go to bed, and it is because you're unaware of it, but mentally you are managing pain because it is there all the time. And so I apologise for the even more scattergun bullshit nature of this podcast, even more than the usual ones. So let's try a run at that again. That with my big fat fucking excuse out the way. Corey Taylor enjoyed holidaying in Bora Bora with his new girlfriend. That was the headline. And yeah, okay, so I clicked on it, but I clicked on it purely for the point, because I read that headline and thought, well, if that ain't talking bollocks fodder, I don't know what is. And the article was exactly what it sounded like, which was Corey Taylor's mentioning in an interview that he's done, and they've taken that section in an interview and created a story out of it. And it's just like, is this what we've become? I expect that from the mainstream media, right? And I'm aware Blabbermouth is mainstream metal media, but do we have to go down there? Do we really care? I mean, that's nice for him. And that's literally all I had, that's what I thought when I read the headline. Oh, that's nice for him. And then you read it and you go, well, I'm glad that happened, but is that really fucking news? Are we really delving into those depths of metal personalities' lives? Did Ozzy Osbourne and the Osbournes really, was that the beginning of the end for metal when we just became part of the mainstream and the mainstream media? I don't know. That's a real fucking overreach there, and a desperately out of date one. So fuck you, Howard, you fucking idiot. And that leads us nicely on, because obviously the clown in never has a metal personality been more suited to be attached to something than Sean M. Graham, also being known as the Clown. Because if you've seen any of his movies, you'll know he's a fucking clown. And if you've seen any of his artwork, you'll know he's a fucking clown. But the latest band member to reveal that they're an artist, and it's treading in the footsteps of Lars Ulrich, well, not really actually, because he just sold art, is Chris Adler. That's right. apparently Chris Adler is now an artist. That's right, because hitting lumps of wood is not enough for this guy. He's now, and I was just like, what is it with band members suddenly revealing, oh, so-and-so reveals art, so-and-so reveals art, so-and-so there's loads and tons of artists. Okay, he's fucking blown it there, haven't I? I've really punctured my own argument. Well, they are artists, Howard. They are known as artists, be they drummers or guitarists. They are also artists. So when they reveal art, should I be surprised? Well, it's everybody's right, and you can put art out if you want, but just because you like, I don't know, I guess it's using... Do you know what? I was going to moan about this, but given the lack of money in music these days, is it any wonder that drummers, guitarists, whoever in bands are branching out? They're putting out art out there, and if people buy it, well, fucking hell, it's another revenue stream, isn't it? Something's got to make up for the lack of money out there. So I was actually going to have a real big moan about this, but I've kind of halfway through. I'm going to disagree with myself. I've put notes down, going like, band members, well, what a load of bollocks. And I'm now thinking, no, Howard, fuck you. It's not a load of bollocks, you idiot. It's actually a sensible move. I mean, what's this podcast? This is me diversifying from, being in Acid Rain and doing stand. In fact, I do stand up as well. What a cunt! Hey, how dare I do anything other than be in Acid Rain? What an absolute twat! Slacking. This has come full circle. I am the person I'm moaning about. Jesus Christ. Well, there you go. Now, yet again, I reveal myself to be a self-aware egomaniac twat. That is who I am. That is what I am. I guess there's no escaping it. It's that's it, really, isn't it? I'm just a fucking knob. I'm no different to anybody else. I mean, I might pontificate on here about and throw out the odd opinion that you might agree with, and you might have the odd giggle, but ultimately, I'm a fucking dick like everybody else. I put my trousers on one at a time. No, I put your trousers on one leg at a time. Put my trousers. Yes, I wear 3 or 4 pairs of trousers every week. I like to do that. I like to wear them at the same time. It's all just opinion, folks. It's all fucking bullshit. Whether it's me, whether it's Jamie Jaster, whether it's who's that clown with the massively long podcasts? Again, there you go. Me slagging somebody off for doing long podcasts. Who the fuck am I to talk about that? We're all just talking shit. It's all just opinion. It's just throw it in the blender. You don't have to fucking listen to any of this shit. You don't have to take it as an educated opinion. No, it's just a fucking opinion from a mouthy dickhead who happens to have a mic and some spare time and feel like that my opinion matters somehow and that people want to hear from me. But do you? Or do you just listen to the interviews? And is the worst part of the interviews me fucking talking? Probably. I don't know. But ultimately, I'm just another fucking voice out there, people. That's it. Not that you thought any different. I'm telling you what you already know. Another example of what a fucking dick I am. I mean, this is one person melting down right now. It's, that's all this is. It's me questioning my very existence, questioning why I even do the podcast. I'll tell you something else I'm going to question. Ghost, the latest band to be asked if they could carry on with all new members. Who gives a fuck? Jesus Christ, I can understand it. I mean, I can understand Kiss. And there you go, okay? I can understand. I mean, I don't like the band, you know that, but I can understand the fascination with them carrying on. Other people just painting their faces up and playing that weak, lame, fucking middle-of-the-road rock. It's not metal. If you're a Kiss fan and you are going to try and convince me that's metal, fuck you all day. It isn't. It's hard rock at best. And their image makes it, you genuinely think it's going to sound like fucking, wow, this is going to be amazing. I remember the first time I saw that artwork and thinking, oh yeah, this is going to, oh, no, this is, and this was at the time, folks. So I'm not saying now, not saying it sounded lame at the time to these ears, but anyway. Ghost. Really? Can they carry on with all new members? Well, Ghost is one bloke, isn't it? I mean, what an absolutely naff conversation. Ghost, the latest band, to be asked if they could carry on. Well, they are. Every fucking album. Every album. And there's another band who would appear to not be carrying on at all. Darren Malakian or whatever his name is, a guitarist in System of a Down. As of right now, System of a Down is not a making albums band. What do you mean, as of right now? I think it's about 11 years you've been not a making albums band. Do we really have to point this shit out? Most obvious statement ever. Well, this has been a whole 20 minutes of obvious statements. My apologies for this bullshit. It's been a fucking shit opening. I apologise, but, you know, what can I say? It can't always be gold, can it? Fuck it. I'm gonna have a chat with Godless. He'll turn this round. Here's me and Godless. Hello.
Check.
I've got
check. Syphilis check.
I've got you, man.
Oh, good. You record this?
Of course I am.
Oh shit! I thought we were just talking.
I can pause it and then we can just talk and we can agree that we've said everything that we need to say offline and then we can talk online. How's that?
I hadn't realized that we were doing like recording and stuff. I thought we were just catching up.
No. To be honest, I totally agree. And that's what I thought until about 10 minutes before we were going to talk, and I thought I should record this. Oh, hang on! Something's just dropped through my letterbox. So I just got an old-fashioned letter through the letterbox.
I picture it being like a bunch of letters cut out from newspaper and taped together on the page.
Yes. Unfortunately, no. It's just yet another letter from estate agents telling me that they want to buy the flat, and I'd be more than happy to sell it, but I think the landlord would be furious.
Yeah.
I tell you what,
how you doing, man? What's going on?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm just going to pause the recording. Hang on. So. Okay, yeah, we're back online. I've spoken to a few musicians recently about, and some of them have said, like, you know, when they weren't playing music or if they weren't in a band and stuff like that, they felt like a real dip in their self-esteem, like they weren't, like basically like they weren't anyone special anymore. They were just, you know. In fact, I did an interview recently where someone said, "Well, if I'm not in a band, you know, who am I? No, that's that's not good. I need to be in a band." Have you felt anything like that about, like, not doing the podcast? Has it kind of made you kind of feel a little bit, I don't know, you know, anonymous, unspecial? Was there any kind of self-esteem or ego tied up in that? And you've since found, oh wow, that's surprising. Maybe there was.
Yeah, I mean, there's always ego tied up in it before. You know, that's always a lot of fun. I mean, you know what it's like when you're off somewhere doing something completely non-metal related, and somebody comes up and says, "Oh, you know," and you've made some sort of difference in their day at some point. Is, you know, that feels really great. So, yeah, I certainly miss that, and if it never happens again, I probably would be kind of bummed out. But I'm not sure if yeah, you know, it's funny. I thought it would affect me more than it probably has.
So you don't, yeah, no, absolutely. So you don't miss it enough to want to do it again, to kind of dive in and go through all the hassle of setting up a podcast and everything else.
Well, it's too soon to say that.
Right, okay. Well, yeah. Like, you know, like I did just say offline, you know, if only you knew somebody who ran a monthly podcast where you could just go on and, like, you know, get your thoughts and feelings out there. You know, we could have a little 10-minute segment. You know, Godless's thought for the month. I don't know. Like I said, you know, to try and find somebody that does a monthly podcast that you know really well, you know, and that you trust and that you're kind of friends with, you know, and see if they'd let you do it.
It's funny because, you know how, like, I mean, maybe you know this from your comedy, but when you're not thinking about things in the context of how you're presenting it, you end up not thinking about those things.
Absolutely,
so, like I haven't been thinking too much about like questions I would ask musicians that I'm, talking to. But that being said, I'm at a pub last night, and this young woman's telling me the story of one of her girlfriends. Her boyfriend had the flesh ripped off his penis during a rugby match, and I got like, I'm like, oh my god. Can we possibly? Can you? I was like, I got to restart a podcast just to interview that guy. I've got at least an hour's worth of questions here. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I'm just sitting there going, did it end up being longer or shorter? Did it? I'm just railing off just the top of my head. Like I got like 7 questions before I've taken a breath, and she's like, I didn't ask any of that. And I'm like, how do you not ask any of that? That's the first thing you ask. That's insane. But you sit down to actually do it, and now there's a place where it could actually be presented. Well, now it's a lot of fun,
Yeah, I've changed my mind about that 10-minute section every month. I do not want penis flesh ripping stories on the podcast, and I've got to be honest. I think I speak for most listeners too, because let's face it, you're not normal, and oh god, that's horrendous. That is, oh my god. That is...
the interesting thing she said is that he was back in the swing of things in 2 months.
Oh, when we say back in the swing of things, do we mean playing rugby or boning her, or both?
I don't know whether he was convinced to go back on the rugby field, but he was convinced to put it back to use in 2 months.
Wow!
And to me, that seems rather quick. I mean,
it's Dr. Godless now, is it? Dr. Godless says no, 2 months is too soon. It should be longer than that. In Dr. Godless's lengthy knowledge and experience in penis injuries, 2 months is too soon.
Because you always hear about those stories of people who like get you can have that like surgically enhanced, and you're like, oh man, I don't think I'd do that. And I probably wouldn't, but like, if I had the opportunity because of a freak accident and the recovery period is 2 months or less, well, that's interesting,
Yeah, it is. It'd be even more interesting if it happened to a member of a band, I gotta be honest, as opposed to some anonymous rugby playing Irish dude. But that's. But I know exactly what you mean. If I'm in a place where I'm doing if I'm in a long run of gigs, comedy gigs, I find myself in the comedy mindset, and you see material everywhere. There's things happen, and you make notes of it and blah. But then if I'm like having a break from gigs, or it's like a month or 2 between gigs or something like that, I do that sharpness dulls, and I don't see it. But then again, I've got the podcast running all the time, so I'm always looking for stories and quotes, and some stupid shit that Gene Simmons has said. So it's kind of like they kind of come and go. I've got podcast all the time, and then comedy mindset is like drifting in and out all the time. But I know what you mean. It's it's a part of your brain that just doesn't get used if there's no reason to use it.
Yeah. Oh, totally. If you don't want the flesh ripped off your penis, then don't go out on the rugby field. That's the way I look at
it. Yeah, absolutely. That's the way you've recently started looking at it. So, have you had any contact with any? How much contact have you had with Chuck since the podcast finished?
Very, very little. I've sent him a couple songs that I think are pretty awesome, and gotten brief answers, but haven't interacted with him too much. I know that he's done the same thing. He's made himself busy with lots of other stuff, and just seeing his transformational weight loss has been absolutely inspiring and astonishing to watch, and that's been fantastic. And he doesn't share too much. There's very little in the way of pictures and stuff, but what pictures he has shared, you can see a humongous difference.
Literally a humongous difference.
Yes,
as in he's no longer humongous.
Yeah, exactly.
He now looks like a regular dude. He could walk past me in the street and I wouldn't recognize him.
Exactly. Which is great because it means that he's going to live a lot longer, and he's going to now he's just got to stop smoking. He'll be good to go. But
I think I saw a picture where he got rid of the beard as well.
Yeah, he sure did. He's a new man. All the pictures I see of his wife, she smiles a lot more than she used to. So it seems to be popular around the whole house.
Well, of course she's smiling. She hasn't got the thought in the back of her mind of this fucking 25-stone lump landing on top of her every other week. It's
I don't know if I'd say lump. I'd say more like shrubbery. It's a I don't know what. He's a garden of hair is what he was,
Well, absolutely. But also the thing is, it totally makes sense to lose the beard because it was a fat guy beard, and that beard hanging off that dude that he is now just looked fucking stupid.
Yeah,
it really would. It would just be like, no, dude, that really doesn't suit you.
Yeah.
I mean, for anybody listening who hasn't seen any pictures, the Chuck and Godless Instagram account is still open. That's probably the best place to find any pics.
Or Chuck's Facebook. I don't know that he's posted anything on Instagram, so I'll have to take a look. Yeah,
or it might be Twitter. Actually, I might have seen it on Twitter. I think because he's changed his profile picture on Twitter, hasn't he?
Now he's got to change his sig on Twitter. He was Bearded Ape. So that's where you find him, but he ain't a bearded ape no more. I don't know what you call him.
No, he's more sort of like a little freshly shaved chimp.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I miss Chuck more than anything. Having the conversations and the dialogue with him all the time is terribly, terribly missed. That more than anything is what I miss. And probably, when I think about trying to podcast again, talking about, the ego boost and all that stuff, that ends up not mattering anywhere near as much as the idea that, I don't get to dialogue with my friend if I do another podcast. So that's the part that I miss more than the rest of it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, and that's the way it should be. But also, I guess as well, given your kind of fairly isolated existence where you are, you've got to miss just shooting the breeze about metal because it is something that means a hell of a lot to you, and it's I know from feedback I get from people who listen to the podcast. A lot of people listen to the podcast because they like listening to people talk metal, which is something they don't get to do because their life circumstances have changed or whatever, and that's got to be a bit of a loss as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I was listening to I wasn't listening. I was reading an article just yesterday about dialogues between comedians and especially in podcasting, and they were talking about how often the sort of new paradigm is when you get two comics, they immediately talk about how much they appreciate each other's controversial material in sort of the context of, well, non-comedians, they just don't get the joke and that's why they get offended. That sort of idea. And I thought that was interesting, and I was thinking about that in the context of metal conversations that happen, and it's not the same sort of dialogue as this idea of people getting offended really isn't what I'm bringing up, but just that idea of it's a comfortable conversation. It's a comfortable it's a neat way that to listen to that kind of conversation, the kinds of conversations that you have with your guests, and it's missed not only as a participant, but then as a listener for sure. You got to find new places to find it. So that's part of the reason why I'm glad that you had introduced Talking Bollocks to me so long ago, because now that I'm not having those conversations, the chance to listen to them is that much more valuable.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Does that mean you actually listen to whole podcasts now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. And I bet you're not caught up though, are you? I bet there's still loads of episodes you haven't heard.
Of course not.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I don't mind. I mean, anybody who listens to like more than one episode, as far as I'm concerned, is I'll take that. That's fine by me.
Well, as I've said before, my favorite is just sitting there listening to you solo that's when I think your show is at its absolute best, and that's even as you've gotten better and better over time as an interviewer. I still that I never miss. Is the chance to just listen to you rant and dialogue as a solo at the beginning of every podcast.
Thank you very much. I mean, I'm always keen to know, because I think for every one of you, there is other listeners who will just fast forward past my bullshit straight to the interview. Because I do that with Nerdist, or Nerdist podcast has changed its name these days, but I do that. I'm not interested in Chris Hardwick's bullshit, but I do like him as an interviewer, although occasionally he can get a bit too touchy-feely and what's your process, and his voice can get really annoying. But other than that, and Jamie Jastra as well, as much as I do actually like his podcast, but I have to dip in and out, and I do tend to skip sometimes over a lot of his jibber jabber and just cut to the interview.
Yeah.
But I'm always fascinated to know who listens. Whose people, what their favourite bits are. But I guess as well, it depends who you're interviewing. Because
absolutely. I mean, Doc Coyle had an amazing conversation with Tosin Abasi recently, and I mean that's just absolute crucial listening. It was a really fascinating conversation that went in a lot of different directions, and I found it really enjoyable. And it reminded me, of course, of when we had on the Metal Podcast the opportunity to talk with Tosin, and what I sort of came away from that is that Tosin's just a really interesting and open individual who gets the format. He gets he gets how to sort of operate in the long form interview, and that makes it. So I wonder if you put him with anybody who has who is interested in speaking to somebody like him, will that conversation always turn out to be good? It's the times when he's stuck being interviewed by someone who just wants to play it by numbers and stay within lines that it just doesn't end up being interesting. But, it makes me wonder if in a genre as small as metal, are there only a limited number of people inside the genre as musicians who can play in that kind of sandbox and do it really, really well?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think there is. I think maybe there is, but they're maybe not comfortable doing it, and that's why you don't get them.
Yeah,
and I think those people who aren't comfortable doing it will do it, but they'll only do it with selected interviewers who they know very well, and that's when they feel relaxed enough. So yeah, and that's how Eddie Trunk, brackets worst interviewer in the world, gets some amazing names and does actually get some great interviews despite in spite of him. Because people feel comfortable because they've been talking to him for 20 odd years. Yeah,
absolutely. Why or how, I have no idea, but they do it.
Well, I tell you, a really good interview on Jastra's podcast was Jamie Jastra and Ash Avildsen.
See, that's another guy who totally gets it, is Ash, yeah.
And listen to the interview, man. It is really, really good. It's very open. He talks about some bands that he's had trouble working with. He fucking names them, I mean, it's a real... I really like the dude. It's like, I mean, we've got fuck all chance of releasing our next album on Sumerian Records, but listening to it made me want to be on Sumerian Records because, the guy is just like so plugged in and absolutely... knows his shit inside out on every level, and you know, he's making movies now, which is like, anyone who takes on that nightmare of trying to get a movie made has absolutely all my respect in the world. And that was a really, really good interview. It's really worth having a listen to that.
Absolutely.
But well, funnily enough, you mentioned Doc. Doc's on this month's podcast, the next podcast.
Oh, good, yeah. And you know, sort of go back to the idea of it being a small world, is that I was surprised and shocked when Doc invited me onto his podcast, and I don't know when that is going to get released, but we had a pretty far-reaching conversation on as well. So yeah, Doc is just a great guy who gets it, and on top of it, what is the success that he's having with his band now has just been amazing to watch. You know, it reminds me of having him on the Metal Sucks podcast years ago, and just talking about the idea of what makes a hit song, and you know, how to think about music and success, and whether it's even possible in the genre. And you know, he was thinking deeply about that for a long time, and to see it come to fruition is just phenomenal to see.
Yeah, I managed to grab some time with him. Where they just arrived at a venue. They're on the road at the moment. They just arrived at a venue, and it was really cool. I'm really happy for him as well, because you know, he's put in the hours, you know, he's put in the miles, and you know, for a lot of people, you know, God forbid, would have been the beginning and the end of their career in the business, and he's really, you know, he's maintained his visibility in the industry, and now is, you know, in probably the best position of his entire career, and it's a real victory for persistence and you know, persistence, hard work, and talent.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's a lethal combination.
I don't think that he was like necessarily persistent that it was going to be playing guitar. It could have been he evolved as a writer. He evolved as a personality. He wasn't sure where it was going to go. At least it seemed to be. You know, he was writing for, was it VH1 or MTV, and doing all these other things, and not really sure exactly where he was going to land, but just knowing he was going to put himself out there, and until something did come along. And of course, his one love is an original love is playing guitar. So it's phenomenal to see happen. And I think with that kind of personality and that kind of mentality and persistence is going to give him the best opportunity to succeed over the long term, even longer term. To look at what he's done so far is already sort of a long-term success from, God forbid's, career up until the present. But I could picture a guy like him being able to be successful as a musician and as a personality, either inside this genre or even beyond it, for quite a long time. So it's awesome to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Abdul, check us a couple of little fanboys. Fanboys. Did you catch their live performance on Irish TV?
I did not. I wasn't aware of it until the next morning, and so I watched it at the next morning online. But I don't even have a regular. I cut the cord like almost a decade ago, so I don't really watch anything actually on television, I guess. Oh,
you're one of them, are you?
Uh-huh.
Honestly, you're right up there with I don't know, people who don't have a TV and people who don't drink. I've always got a bit of suspicion. I don't know. If you don't drink because you know you've had to stop, that's fine. That's and it's not like I'm a big drinker myself or a pub mentality kind of guy. But I don't know. People who don't have a taste. Put it this way: it's a good job you drink alcohol. Otherwise, I would really struggle to be your friend.
Did you have like a sort of healthy introduction to alcohol as a kid and growing up?
That's a weird question. Did I have a well, do you want to phrase that a different way? Have I been an alcoholic? Have I been an alcoholic since a child?
Yeah, for myself, I had I was the son of or I am the son of an alcoholic, so I had a very different perspective as to what alcohol is and what it means than perhaps someone else might. So I was just wondering if perhaps that informed somewhat your perspective on alcohol and who should and shouldn't be accepted for drinking or not.
No, I have two parents who drank in moderation. I've never been a massive heavy drinker, says the man who's going out on an all-day session in like 10 minutes. I'm British, so basically, you're born with a beer in your hand. We have a tavern culture that is hundreds and hundreds of years old. So I grew up like most kids, drinking cider in the local park and and stuff like that. I've never really obviously growing up. I mean, I've being the age that I am now, I've got friends who've had to quit and friends who've struggled. So you realise as you get older, you do have to calm down. You can't just be drinking like a teenager or your early 20s for the rest of your life, because you'll fucking pay for it. Some people find it easier to calm down than others, and some can't at all. So yeah, I can appreciate, given your upbringing, your trepidation. That doesn't surprise me at all.
R.I.P. Jeff Hanneman.
Well, there is that as well. Yeah, there is that as well. Right. Well, I'm going to finish the recorded bit of our chat, and let's just catch up again before I go. But for now, pleasure speaking to you and catching up again. Always
a pleasure, Howard. Thank you.
That's better, isn't it? Hey, good old Godless. Hey, honestly, I really enjoy chatting. I mean, we spent over a day together when we went to that Beyond. What was it? The Reformation show. God, I was thinking revival, wrong word, and all sorts of rewords. Anyway, I'm going to blame that on the shoulder. And it's just so comfortable to talk to him, and he's become a friend, and he's become a friend weirdly through Twitter, because I used to interact with Godless and Chuck on Twitter every week when they were doing the Metal Sucks podcast. And then we just and he name dropped me then, and it's just kind of like developed, and it's just really weird, it's cool. It's cool. I mean, there'll be some people, from younger generations going, well, yeah, meeting people on social media, that is a thing, Grandad. And you're absolutely right. So there you go. So that's social media. Not all bad. Just try and remember that the next time someone triggers you. So what else has been going on? This statement from Wendy Dio. I think the people that say, oh, this is terrible, should at least see it, she continued. Don't criticise it if you haven't seen it. It's done with love. The band love doing it, and we just want to keep Ronnie's memory and music alive. Okay, let's just break that down, Willie. First of all, people that say, oh, it's terrible, should at least see it. Nope. Not at all. Not if you think that the idea and concept is fucked from the very beginning. I don't care if it looks like Ronnie Dio is in the room. It's the principle that I object to, not the fucking technology. The technology is fine. Holographic technology is fine. Not for putting people on stage who are dead. That's my problem with it. And what's the next part? As he unlocks the screen on his phone. Don't criticise it if you haven't seen it. It's done with love. The band love doing it. We want to keep Ronnie's memory and music alive. It's a hologram. And I think you'll find a hologram that's done with love and a hologram that's done without love look pretty much the same. Love has got fuck all to do with it. Also, if it's so fucking wonderful, why did you have to redesign your husband's eyes? That is fucking scary. Oh yeah, we're going to go back to the drawing board. And you're redesigning the eyes on your husband's face, please. just having to go back there again. I cannot believe that's a phrase that I'm having to say. We want to keep Ronnie's memory and music alive. You are aware that his music is still available, right? His music will live forever. That's how Hendrix's legacy has survived. That's how Elvis's legacy survived. That's how Hanneman's legacy has survived. It's how every musician since the dawn of time, their legacy has survived because their music has survived. You don't need to keep it alive by putting a fucking hologram into a fucking concert hall. That is not keeping his music alive. That is making money off some creepy fucking weird old tribute. I mean, I'm not a fan of tribute bands, but fucking hell. If it's go and see Ronnie Dio hologram or a tribute band, I'd rather go and see a tribute band. Live human beings, a live singer interacting with the crowd there and then. The band love doing it. Well, yeah, I'm sure the band love a payday. There's nobody in that band who's got anything better to do. Of course they fucking love it. And they're not doing it because they love Ronnie and they want to keep them. No, it's a payday. It's a job. Now, I am sure that part of it, for some of them, is that. But that is not why they're doing it. They're doing it because it's a job. That's why people do jobs. You know, you're not going to climb on a tour bus and travel all over Europe to keep someone's memory alive. No, you're going to do it because you get paid at the end of the night. That's why you do the job. That is basically it. So if we can, I'm done. I'm fucking done with that. I really fucking am. On a much more positive note, and yeah, I'm not just keeping on whinging. I'm not just going to be a moany bastard all the time. I saw a clip of Dave Mustaine in Argentina, came out of his hotel, right? They were doing some gigs in Argentina. He saw there was a load of kids outside his hotel, just which you know, is fucking amazing. And you know what he decided to do? He decided to go down, sit on the steps, and play an acoustic guitar and have a sing-along. How fucking cool is that? And I watched the footage and it was really... And these kids were fucking blown away. And I've had a pop at Dave Mustaine plenty of times, right? And, that is just cool. There is no, no, there's no punchline coming here. There is no me tearing him down. That is just a really fucking cool thing to do. Really, really fucking cool. And I just think that is to be commended. And it was brilliant as well. And he did all the hits. He was out there for about 15 minutes. He didn't have to go out there at all. I just thought that was, coolness on another level. I really do. And these were all, and the clips that were there, it was all fan filmed. You know, he didn't go down with his phone and film it. He just went down there and did it. And I just thought that was really fucking cool. And you know what else is really cool? Gene Simmons. Yeah, that's right. You heard it. I've just got done praising Dave Mustaine. Do you know what I'm going to do now? Oh, yeah. I'm flipping on you, folks. I'm going to praise Gene Simmons. Because Gene, right? Gene said recently, and I quote, where he was astonished to find out the medical value of cannabis. He basically came out and said, do you know what? My previous statements all about cannabis, saying it's a drug and it should be avoided and all drugs are bad and all the rest of it. I've never got high or drunk in my life. Drugs, everybody uses drugs. You take right. I would like to admit I was judgmental, arrogant, uninformed, as well as misinformed. I was throwing out the baby with the bathwater. I was subjected to the Cheech and Chong itis disease, which is the low end. Look, cannabis I found out through doing research and stuff, and I urge everybody to do it. I was astonished to find out its medical value. And you just think, do you know what? How cool is that? That is genuinely fucking cool. Really fucking cool. I mean, that's just fucking brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And Gene is to be praised for that. I mean, somebody of his age, he's no young man. Although, he will make it to your house for for 50 grand. No, look, Joe, I didn't tear Dave down. I'm not going to. That is from somebody from that generation who's a teetotaler and always been don't do drugs, and all the rest of it. I just think that is really fucking. That's different class. There's nothing more I can say. It's different class. You might not want to hear this from me. You might not want to hear the positive Howard praising Dave Mustaine and praising Gene Simmons. There's definitely less comedy there. There really is. I mean, he still looks like a badly drawn toy gorilla, and Dave Mustaine still at a Scout Jamboree. But you know what? Those two things are very, very cool. Very cool indeed. That's enough, isn't it? That's enough. I'm going to freak you out if I continue this. I really am going to freak you out. Okay, so let's finish this section by symphonic metal. Don't get it. Do not fucking get it at all. I like my symphony. I like my metal. I like Metallica with the San Francisco Symphony. I like that kind of thing. But symphonic metal, I just think, I don't know, it's just grandiose in the extreme, and the bands who play it seem to think that they're like changing the world, and they're on some higher plane than the rest of metal. Oh yes, we're symphonic metal. Oh yes, we're practically classical musicians. Oh yes, we should be touring with philharmonic orchestras. No, you're not. You're just a band with fucking grandiose samples in your music. Get over yourself, will you? Really, and it's grand. There's just the grandiose titles, and it all just seems so far shoved up its own arse. That all the heads right up their own arses. And please do tell me if I'm wrong. Please do send me some links to bands that really don't think that they're doing this fucking great service to classical music and to heavy metal music, and they're on some sort of quest. It does my head in. It's like fucking heavy metal Game of Thrones for some reason. I don't know. I don't know where the connection is there. I'm really not sure where the connection between symphonic metal and Game of Thrones is. I don't know how that little synapse in my brain is going. Game of Thrones, symphonic metal. Is there a connection there? I don't know. I'm questioning myself a lot on this fucking podcast. I'm blaming the arm, which I might remind you is constantly in pain. All right? Anyway, enough moaning, enough belly aching, and definitely enough praise. Let's have a chat to Doc Coyle. Sorry, Doc. Jesus Christ. I bet you've never been called that before. Although he has toiled throughout his career within the music business, doing all sorts of different stuff, got a huge amount of admiration for this dude. He really has. He's done so much in his career, and but came to prominence with God Forbid, and he's now back to prominence with the Bad Wolves, who were the band that did a cover of Cranberries' Zombie. So they hit the headlines when the singer died, and so that was kind of odd, which brought them to mass attention for those of us who weren't, well, for those who weren't aware. He also has the X-Man podcast. That is EX-MAN, the X-Man podcast. I am a subscriber. He's a great podcaster. He's a great songwriter. He's a great writer in general, and really took the time to catch up. I mean, he's on the road with the Bad Wolves. He'd been on the road travelling all day and just got to the venue and took time out to have a chat. What a top guy. Have a listen. Hi, Doc.
Hello.
Hello
hey,
there.
What's going on?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm trying to get my headphones on. Give me a second.
Yeah, no worries.
Trying to find a lobby in this place. It's about to... There we go. All right.
Ah, right, okay, yeah, you're coming through loud and clear.
Well, good to hear.
So whereabouts are you? Paint a picture for me, Doc. Whereabouts are you?
I am in beautiful, sunny Houston, Texas, and we are at a House of Blues establishment. House of Blues is a chain of venues throughout the U.S. They're some of the best theaters you can really play out in the U.S. So they're great sound, great food. They really take care of you.
Oh, well, that's the main thing.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we started when we started, what was our first date? On the 20th of April. We started doing some festivals, like one called Las Rages in Las Vegas. We did one called Fort Rock and Welcome to Rockville. And in between those, we've been doing off shows with Hollywood Undead. And those have been going great. Like they have a really great fan base. So every show has been packed, and the festivals have been huge. Definitely playing in front of thousands of people despite our early time slot. So it's been going really well.
So, well, you've got the sound of somebody who has got the bit between their teeth. There's the sound of enthusiasm in your voice. Sounds like you're really enjoying it as well.
Yeah, I mean, we really just started our journey here.
Yeah.
And to be truthful, I mean, I've been doing music for so long, and I've never had any project really have this much momentum or just hit the ground running, in terms of the radio play and having the big tours. And, it's really like a full kind of assault, of promotion and exposure. Yeah. And it just has essentially made everything just much, much easier than it would have been otherwise.
Yeah. But it's a case of levels, isn't it? I mean, I know exactly what you mean about the, being at it a long time, and by the sounds of it, what you're saying is it feels this particular time where everything's come together perfectly at the right time. Yeah, I mean,
I think it's difficult to be around as long as I have, as long as some of the other guys in the band have, and not feel a little bit skeptical and maybe even pessimistic as far as like the prospects of launching a new band. So I think it's kind of everything's performed beyond my personal expectations. I can't speak for anyone else, because I just think this stuff is really hard to do. It's really difficult to have it. You could do all the right things. You can check all the marks, and it could still not work out. And the fact that it's going so well, I'm just hopeful. It's like I think my therapist was like mentioned like I forget what it's called, but when you kind of wait for the other shoe to drop. It's like this almost weird kind of thing, that's kind of in the back of my head. But it's just like you got to appreciate it, work it, but, never get too comfortable, because you know what? Things, I always imagine things would get harder at some point, and I'm just trying to stay level-headed. That's the main thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the thing is as well is that... I mean, I know exactly what you mean. I've always had a phrase, especially when you're talking about tours. It's like believe it when you're on the bus, basically.
Yeah, I think so. A lot of people ask to say, "Hey, man, are you excited for this tour? Are you excited for this?" And I think,
I will be when I know it's real.
Well, it's not even about knowing that it's real. I think it's about living in the moment. It's like, what is today worth if you're only thinking about what you're doing next week,
Absolutely.
So it's, and being in the moment, like, the anticipation about something is just like, it was actually very daunting and very, like, nerve-wracking anticipating everything that happened, because some of it is so big, it's hard to think about. So it's like, in a way of just focusing on what you're doing today is not thinking about it. It's like, all right, I have to prepare for that moment, but the only thing I can do is the actual preparation, which is the rehearsing and the working behind the scenes and getting everything together and just kind of taking care of your business. And it's incremental, all that stuff. Like, we're out here and it's going well, but every day we're trying to make it better,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's I mean, I absolutely get that, and it's been you've got, what is it, 10 days, just under 2 weeks before the album drops.
Not even. It's the album's on May 11th, so a little more than a week.
Wow, and I know exactly what you mean as well about being focused on the present, because you can, there can be a tendency to look too far into the distance, and I've always worked on the principle that if you look after today, tomorrow will take care of itself.
Exactly. If you do what you're supposed to do, and kind of be forward thinking enough to be prepared, then theoretically you should be able to handle anything that comes in front of you. But of course, things that you can't anticipate always arise, right?
Yeah. Well, especially in a band, it just seems to be, well, it's when you've got so many different people and working together who also have lives. Anything can happen at any time.
Yeah, I mean it's very unpredictable, and I think I grew up kind of in a band and being kind of interlinked between a few other adults, and in the subsequent years I've kind of learned how to be an individual. And it's a kind of a different experience reintegrating yourself and thinking as a group of people as opposed to kind of looking out for yourself. There's a little bit of give and take and kind of understanding that you have to, once you're part of like this amoeba that's moving around.
Yeah.
You're part of the hive mind to a certain degree, and you have to kind of sacrifice a little bit of your individuality for the sake of the group. And that's not easy for me, I think, as it used to be. But, it's all part of the process. This is, as they say, becomes the new normal,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know exactly how you feel because I came back to working with my band Acid Rain in 2015, having spent 20 years doing stand-up. So
wow.
Very much from going focus on me to remembering how to play with others. It's it's very, very different.
I think playing in a band it's not too dissimilar from like you said, the difference between an individual sport like tennis or golf to a team sport. The mentality couldn't be more different.
No, you're absolutely right. And the thing is when in the bad times is when you notice being in a band, when it's kind of like you're all there to kind of shoulder something together.
Well, I can say that, but I can also give the other idea. I think sometimes when things go bad in a band organization, often certain people will use that as a way to shift blame. I say, well, it's the band's fault that I didn't do this. It's this guy in the band. It's the reason why I'm in my position. Whereas if you're on a singular pursuit, generally you have no one to blame but yourself. I think sometimes it lets people off the hook for kind of personal accountability sometimes.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. That's a fair point. That's a fair point. I'll take that.
It can go both ways, but I do know what you mean, and that's all about being connected and having that trust.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you started out. How young were you when God forbid first hit the road?
Well, we first hit the road. I was 19,
right?
And we started playing together about 3 years before that, doing basement bands. And when I was still in high school, we were really terrible and had no expectations to have a career or get signed or anything. We kind of just wanted to get good. And by the time we started getting good, we realized we kind of were doing something a little different. And then we made this record called Reject the Sickness for an independent label, and then Century Media got wind of it and offered us a record deal pretty much immediately. So when I was maybe a year out of high school, we started touring, doing pretty modest stuff, hardcore scene touring, sleeping on people's couches and playing in front of 50 people. But to me, that was beyond anything I ever heard of. It was, I didn't even know it was an option to be like a metal musician for a living or as a career.
That's awesome. So you kind of fell into it.
Yeah, I mean, it was like almost going back to before what I said about not looking too far down the road. I never did that. I couldn't really imagine working a job. Like I worked at like this copy shop called Kinko's, making copies and doing office type stuff and delivering. And I couldn't envision that was going to be my life.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't. Not that I said I was above that or anything. I was like, oh, this is what people do. You leave school and then you do something you don't like all day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's strange.
Yeah, it's not an option. It's not an option.
But I've done it. I've done it subsequently, and have I think a more kind of nuanced relationship with work than I did when I was younger. But it was this kind of almost a failure of imagination on my end, where in just kind of going with the flow. You know, it's like Forrest Gump. You know, he never initiates anything. He kind of just goes with the flow, and things happen. You know, that's kind of what I did. I just kind of let the tide take me, and I learned a lot.
But there's a lot to be said for that, you know, and you know that's how you've ended up where you are today. And all those.
Yeah, I focused a lot more since then, but and you know, become a little more goal oriented, but still being open minded to that you can't control everything. So much you have to let life happen to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I learned that years and years and years after I wish I had learned it. But yeah, it does. I mean, I'm like you. I was you know, young and on the road at a very early age. But I, you know, time off to do comedy. Whereas you really slugged it out. It's like 6 albums with God Forbid. And is it still there in the background, bubbling away potentially?
You know, you never know. I think it's a difficult scenario considering, you know, distance. Everyone's kind of spread out. You know, in a lot of ways, me quitting the band and the band breaking up allowed people to kind of follow what other things they had going on in their lives, and that kind of pulled people out from a distance. And the truth is, with Bad Wolves, man, we're going to be so damn busy. I mean, it's really cutting out bandwidth for almost anything. You know, like I have my own podcast, The X-Man, and I'm struggling to get episodes out for that. And I'm, you know, there's, you know, just when you have something really that's at the centerpiece, it definitely doesn't room for a lot of other things. I have another band called Vegas Nerve. And it's like people are like, oh, so are you doing another Vegas Nerve? I'm like, well, let's cross that bridge when we get there. I'm doing this right now, and we'll see what happens, you know. But I never say no to anything, especially something like God Forbid, where obviously that was my life for forever, and it's, you know, I love the guys in the band, and you know, and my main thing with God Forbid is that as long as people would want to see something, or there was some kind of demand, or I felt something that was appropriate to the legacy of the band that was worth doing, then of course I'd be open to it. But I definitely don't want to be these like nostalgic, doing it for the old days, kind of trying to recreate something. I don't know if that's necessarily healthy. Yeah.
Well, I think, and as you rightly pointed out right at the very beginning, you have got, you know, this is the time for Bad Wolves really now. I mean, you know, you have to give it everything, and especially with the level of exposure that you have. Is there a certain kind of element that's come along with this as like, wow, you know, at last, this is how it should always be. Everything, you know, everything lined up, great exposure, tours booked, and, you know, things looking good.
No, I think to me, it's like it's weird to, like, in a way, hoping for the 1 in a billion thing or 1 in a million thing to happen to you is a kind of a delusion, right? Now, sometimes the delusion works out, right? But you're taking a bet on yourself that it will work out. But if it doesn't, if your goal is, I want to be as big as Jay-Z as a rapper, right? Or if you're a comedian, I was like, if I'm not as big as Louis C.K. or something, then I'm a failure. Now, is that delusion, or is that, you know, or is that ambition? You know, so to be truthful, I had already accomplished a lot of my goals, most of my goals, before with my old band and even with other bands. You know, I played with Lamb of God, and we opened for Metallica, and I got to, you know, open for Queensryche with another band and go to Europe with Darkest Hour and do all kinds of stuff. So I don't need to check the boxes of, have a record sell this many copies, or I need to play in front of this many people. I've kind of already done that. It's more of, I'm pretty good at this, and it's really fun, and it's adventurous, and it's really, to be truthful, I put so much time into it. It's the skill set I have that I could probably get the most out of in a lot of ways, in terms of a career trajectory. Yeah. So there's some just kind of just being pragmatic in that sense, but yeah, it's a you know, and everything that happens with this, I think, you know, with me doing the podcast and me I've done writing for a while, and I love doing stuff like that. It all
Yeah.
kind of feeds everything. Just kind of be in the entertainment field generally. This band doing well helps everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's not like it should have been like this. Is that I think anyone in this position where things are happening. And listen, we are nowhere near, time to like pop champagne bottles or anything. But when it's going really well, it's like you just feel more gratitude that, wow, we're really lucky we're in this position, and I wish more bands were in this position. But there's no entitlement to it. I don't think that it should be this way. I think we're just lucky.
Well, yeah, that and years, like you said, years of honing your craft. There's a lot to be said for that.
Listen, but I say this, man. I think there's 1,000 guitar players better than me. I know there's 1,000 guys that can write a riff as good as me, but or perform as much on stage. Or listen, there's only one me though, right? There's a bunch of great people, but you can't replace me with someone else that's me. So. Listen, for some reason it's working out, but I think there's a lot of great talent in the hard rock metal world. I do think a lot of how the scene has evolved, where I think people's priorities have kind of flipped, where I think a lot of the musicians play for other musicians and for kind of social validation instead of, hey, let's make a great song, right? You look at a song like Creep by Radiohead, right? It's their biggest song. It's 3 chords. Very simple, but not so many people are trying to recreate that. They're trying to become the next, Faceless, or become the next Periphery or whatever, and it's very much like people have a very direct idea of like, okay, I want to appeal to these people, and it's not really seeing the big picture. I think one of the biggest things about Bad Wolves is, for the first time, we're all kind of trying to see the big picture of where we want to be, and having a certain ambition kind of involves really seeing angles that get outside of just trying to impress the next guitar player. It's like James Hetfield's not the best guitar player, in the world, or Kirk Hammett, or Lars Ulrich. Everyone shits on him for his drums, right? But he's in the biggest band. So people have to ask themselves the question, what's more important to you, being the best drummer or being in the best band?
Yeah.
And those are 2 different things, because people equate them. I've seen the greatest musicians I've ever seen play in front of 20 people. No one cares. So what is the value of being the greatest at whatever if your input doesn't equal the output, right?
Yeah.
So that's a dicey thing, and I think a lot of times with musicians, they think just because I'm good, I deserve this kind of success. And listen, maybe 20 years ago it was like that, but it's definitely not like that anymore. It's a different game.
Do you think the sports analogy kind of works here, where it's like, give me hard work over talent every time?
No, because I think it's different. I think it's different because I think sports is a meritocracy, right? We can go to the stat sheet and see who had the best game, right? We can look at the end of the year stats. Okay, this person, they have advanced analytics. They can tell who's the best. There's no metric. That I'm saying is you could be the best player or whatever, but ultimately the people decide, right? And that's subjective, right? The best song, quote unquote, is not something I can put into a statistical generator and figure out what's the best song. The people have to decide, what the best song is or what band they like the most. So a lot of that is incongruent with what is like critically the greatest. Like Code Orange, that band won every major award, got nominated for a Grammy, had all this stuff going on, but I've seen and the record sales are good. Like for a new band, the record sales are fine, but it's not equal to like the critical acclaim. And there's nothing wrong with that. We have to understand those are 2 different things, and it all depends on what your goals are, right? Because you don't need to. If your goal isn't to sell 1 million records and you don't sell them, that's fine. There's no shame in that. There's plenty of bands that are built slowly. And I bet you what, though, every single one of those people that bought a Code Orange record is probably a fan for life, right? Those are real fans. They're not going anywhere as long as that band sticks true to what they, what gained those fans in the first place,
Yeah, yeah. Well, and so I'm a little bit just jumping about all over the map here. How did you end up getting hooked up with Bad Wolves?
Well, I moved out to L.A. about 4 years ago, and John Berkland, at the time he was still a Devil Driver. They actually gave me a ride. My car broke down. I was driving across country to LA. They gave me a ride, and actually, and he was, at that time he was already planning on leaving the band, and he had kind of told me he was leaving. And he was working on this music, and so when I moved there, he was playing me all this stuff. And at the time, my mind wasn't really in metal. I was doing my other band, Vegas Nerve, which is a little more on the rock side of things, and I kind of wasn't, I wasn't into like, oh, let's do a super group or let's this guy. I was just kind of doing my thing. And as it developed, he kind of, he got, really when Tommy Zex joined the band and I heard the direction that they were going in, and this one guitar player left and they said, hey, we need another guitar player. Would you like to do it? And I was like, I was a little intimidated because the music was really difficult to play. And it's very modern. It's like I had to learn really a whole new style of guitar. And I just didn't have anything going on at the time. At the time, I was like, let me try this out. And we just started in just me and John in a room trying to translate these songs into a live performance. And it took a long time, but just slowly but surely it got together. The songs came together. We got Kyle in the band, and pretty much once we released the video for Learn to Live, it was like kind of a neutron bomb. Like everything just started happening from that point and hasn't slowed down since.
That's awesome, man. I mean, I didn't realize that you were. I didn't realize that you were kind of a founding member, if you like.
Well, I don't consider myself a founding member because John and Tommy really had, probably 60% of what the record ultimately ended up being.
Right. Okay.
Like they had already kind of defined the sound of the band.
Right.
And I came in, at the end, and I, in a way, I didn't want to screw up their formula. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to come in there and be like, well, let me tell you what's going on, because I thought what they did was so ahead of the curve. I thought what they were doing was so ahead of the curve that it just inspired me, and I almost wanted to like, don't mess it up. And then I kind of came at the end. I did a few guitar solos, and I sat in on a few sessions and helped Tommy with some vocal stuff, and just kind of giving my 2 cents where it made sense, without kind of stepping over, anything. Because sometimes you definitely, where me, I've been the band leader and I've been the creative kind of director in a lot of my bands. Yeah. If you have too many of those people, you can kind of mess up the soup, and a lot of people get wrapped up because of the ego that, well, I have to do this and this. Yeah. It's like, nah, you gotta just, you gotta know when to lead and when to follow.
So you're kind of taking consciously taking not a back seat, but just kind of taking yourself out of that kind of mindset and saying, well, look, they've got this
supporting role.
Right. Cool. But that's incredibly refreshing, as opposed to everybody trying to argue over the steering wheel.
Well, you got to understand, I think creative people in general, and especially performers, right? Performing is inherently egocentric because it's about being in front of a crowd and getting attention and getting approval, right? That's why. Oh,
hell yeah! You're talking to somebody who jettisoned the rest of his band so he could get all the attention for himself and stand up.
Exactly. It's very intoxicating. And luckily, I think through my years and my ups and downs, I've really gained a healthy kind of perspective and relationship with my own ego, understanding that it is always there and it informs certain things, and it can be very useful at certain times. But you have to ask yourself a question. I think every creative person who decides to collaborate with other people is, what's more important? Is it that my ideas are used, or that we use the best ideas?
There you go.
And I think a lot of people, because they can't get out of their own way, or they're so connected to something that they will always kind of view their idea as the best idea because it's theirs. And they will think they're being objective, but often they're not. And the thing is, even me, I can sit here and say that I'm trying to be the most objective, but I don't really know. I can just do it to the best of my ability. But ultimately, I want to have the best thing. And I don't care where the idea comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Straight up.
Well, and ultimately, it's about being. It's just about being true to the songs, isn't it? As long as as long as everybody is contributing and working towards making the song the best that it can be, I love playing that bit is not a good enough reason for keeping it in. If everyone else says no, look, we need to lose it.
But by the way, it goes beyond just the songs, right? This is your album artwork, your merchandise, what tours you're going to do, what type of, the marketing, every decision that factors into describing what a band is, there's going to be a discussion, there's going to be, and it's not always easy. This stuff, everyone knows the right answer 2 weeks after it happens, but leading up to it, a lot of these things are difficult. So we're lucky we have a lot of smart people and capable people in our team that help inform us, like Zoltan from Five Finger Death Punch is our manager, and his counsel has been invaluable. The guy just knows his shit. He's one of the most successful bands in the world, and the truth is, and he's been the driving force for that band's success. And, we can't sit here and be like, listen, Zoltan, we know what's up because I sold 50,000 records in 2005. It's like, that shit's irrelevant to be true. So, what do I know? I know how to make a mid-level metal band. I know how to do that. I don't know how to have a multi-platinum arena act. I don't know how to do that. So you have to listen to people that do, if that's what you want to do. And I'm open to that. That's where we're definitely shooting for the stars on this one, I think.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, and quite rightly, go hard or go home.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's we have the components, so it's a matter of every day go out there and each decision and kind of building the house, right? Each good decision and good show and cool T-shirt and cool, just a little nice video we make and everything. You're just slowly building it, and also just going out here and actually connecting. That's one of the great things about finally getting the tours, meeting all the people that have been supporting the band or making new fans and taking pictures of them and signing stuff, because that's how you make connections that last with people that support your art.
Yeah, absolutely. And now more than ever, because every experience is, is remembered, is posted all over social media, and it's all important. Every single piece of it.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, I had a very unfortunate experience with somebody that I really admire recently, where I met them and they were a massive disappointment. And look, you've done it as well, and it sucks, doesn't it? That's the last thing that you want.
Well, I think we have to be realistic about the fact that we think we have this. You have this one-sided relationship with people you admire, and the truth is you don't know them. And ultimately, despite how many of their records you bought or how much they've done for you in that realm, they don't really owe you anything. And I think there's actually this kind of dehumanizing factor about fame, where people, once they know your work, they tend to think they own a piece of you. And once it's like this idea that you can talk shit about someone as soon as they're famous, or you can photograph them, or because they're in the public sphere. And in a way, I think that's kind of detrimental to personal sovereignty and humanity. Of saying you're like a landmark or something. You're a brand. You're McDonald's. You're not a person. And it's like, I think we have to kind of give people a little bit of leeway to have a bad day, to be able to be kind of sometimes we're all selfish in our own regards, but part of that selfishness is kind of to take care of yourself, and I think, listen, some of these people are going to be disappointing, but that's okay, unless you project your version of who you think they are, because maybe that version, that's who they've been the whole time. You just didn't know, and it is what it is,
Yeah, well, I think it is what it is, because I've spoken to a few people who've had varying reactions. Shit happens, though, I mean, it's and I've just as many positive experiences as well. It's just
certain people I like if I met Prince and he was a dick, I wouldn't care at all. Like, he's Prince, right?
Yeah.
He's a god amongst men. Or if I met Axl Rose, he was a dick, I'm like, fuck yeah. Axl Rose told me to fuck off. That's what I'm talking about. I'll be excited. I'm like, hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
Alice Cooper spit in my face. Yeah. That's a rock star. you know?
Yeah. Oh dear, I'm supposed to do the jokes on this podcast, mate. Calm down.
I'm sorry. I'll be less funny.
No, that's all right. So we've got some friends in common. Firstly, Chuck and Godless, who used to do the metal podcast.
Of course. I just had Godless on the show. On my show, we're going to release that in the next week or two.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh,
did a little post-mortem on their show.
Oh, cool, mate. Well, yeah, I did. I found out before the last episode aired because Godless came over here because we were on we were on a quest to go and see a band doing a one-off reunion show. So he flew over here and I drove him up there and we had a lovely weekend together. And he was telling me that the podcast was going to go and I was absolutely gutted, man.
Well, listen, I love both those guys and they've done nothing but support me, and it'll always actually help me, inspire me to start my own podcast because I got a lot of reps.
Yeah, same here.
Guesting on their show, and I know Chuck still does his radio show, so he's still out there. But Godless, man, that guy's got a, and this, I'll be honest, in the realm of heavy metal, there's a lot of boring, there's a lot of fucking nerds out there who are not interesting. You hear them talk, they're like, I don't know, the last All That Remains record, I just really didn't like the guitar sound. It's just like, shut up, all right? He actually has real opinions. He has something to say, whether you agree with him or not. And hopefully he can do something out there, whether that's like a YouTube channel or do another show or whatever. Maybe I'll just have to like steal him on my show, bring him on every few weeks just to talk shit.
Hey, we can fight over him. The first thing I did was say to him, "Look, do you want to come on every other month?" So we can fight on him. We can have him like you can have him one weekend, I can have him another weekend. He can be like our podcast child.
Joint custody.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. We'll just toss him about, no problem.
He's all right. He's a tough guy. He'll be all right.
Yeah. Well, I'll send you some links to that special that I did with him because 2 hours of it is me and him in a car on the way to the gig for an hour, and the following.
He told me about that actually.
Oh, really?
He told me, yeah. He did, yeah.
Oh man, it was great fun. It really was. And yeah, some of his weirdest theories yet come out in that journey, I have to say.
Well, you actually have to speak with him in person, so that makes you a esteemed privilege over myself. So, because it's funny, I did the show in Dublin. We played on television, and I didn't realize he lived in Dublin. For some reason, I was like picturing him living out in the vast rural hills. Of, some coast town in Ireland, but apparently he lives in Dublin. So I just barely missed him. So next time I have to make sure I get to see him in person.
Yeah, no, he came to see Acid Rain playing there back in 2015, and that was the first time I met him. And then another time he was over here doing some training, but this time was a proper rock and roll all day road trip, curry, beers, the lot.
I'm jealous.
Oh man, it was great fun. It was great fun, and he's really good. He's really good company. He really is.
Well, he doesn't shut his mouth, so you got that. You got the conversation done, out of the way. That's taken care of. It's never a dull moment.
Well, also with him, you're only you're only a few sensible opinions away from one where you just go, what the fuck?
Well, he's got a bit of that provocateur, I think, gene in him, where it's like, does he really believe that, or is he just ruffling feathers? But I like it. I like unpredictable opinions from interesting people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this whole podcast is just one unpredictable opinion. Believe you me.
Awesome.
So how is the podcast going, by the way? Because I know last time I listened, the last one I was able to listen to was your friend of mine, Craig LaCicero.
Oh, right on. Yeah. It's going well. Like right now, I'm kind of in a transition period because I'm not home. And right now the band is in a van, and we're about to go on a bus in a few days. So once we have a bus and I'm at the venues early and I can plan stuff, I'll be able to start getting new interviews. I'm actually kind of excited because I'll be going all around. I'll be able to grab people and do in-person stuff, which I prefer over Skype.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going well. I think for me, like, it's the next kind of threshold is to really just get a bit more ambitious with my the guests I get.
Yeah.
And I think, because every time I get a big guest, it just really, the show grows.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm less interested in talking to quote unquote famous people than interesting people. So it's I think, and it's also just with me and the way I approach it, just being really kind of in the moment and also trying to push the boundaries of it and use it as a creative space instead of just, well, I'm doing the podcast, so I'm just going to do what other podcasts do. I think one of the reasons why the show has resonated with the people it's resonated with is that I've tried to really take it seriously in terms of the quality and in terms of the content and make it dense and not a lot of empty calories, I guess. So, and that's a little harder at the moment because my days are filled. So I literally did my intro and outro for a show I had come up with Roy Mayorga from Stone Sour the other day, but I still have to edit the show, and it's just like I have to buy my computer power supply is not working, so it's technical things, it's time, it's really trying to balance it, and it's tough. I don't know how Jamie does 3 shows a week and still tours and everything. I have to learn from his methodology.
Oh man, I don't think that guy ever fucking sleeps. That's the only thing I can come up with. That could be the only reason.
No, he doesn't. He's got I got a label. I'm doing a record with D. Snyder. He's managing Crowbar. I'm like, okay, yeah. I don't think he sleeps. Me, I don't need that much sleep, but I need at least 6 hours. If I get 6, yeah. I'm survivable.
Yeah, no, I can work on 6, definitely. Yeah, I remember you saying about Jamie Just there. I remember listening to a podcast and he had D. Snyder on, and they was like, "Oh, D, I think you should do a metal album, and I do it." And D's like, "Yeah, okay, well, let's do it then." Really, seriously? Yeah, let's do it. And then you're you're kind of 2-3 months down the line, and Jamie's there going, "Oh yeah, we got a bunch of songs and it's going to get recorded," and you think, fuck me, I was in that conversation when it happened.
Well, he's not in addition to being a talker, he's also a doer.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the most inspirational things about Jamie. And while, like I said, he also inspired me to do my show, and this idea of being entrepreneurial within the kind of world of heavy music and saying, hey, I can be the host of MTV. I can get Hatebreed songs played on, be the intro music for a UFC fighter. I can do music for ESPN, and he's constantly trying to push the boundaries, of what this culture is capable of. I love that. I love, and his kind of spirit of inclusivity, I think, is invaluable and something I try and preach as much as possible. So many. I had a friend the other day post, I can't believe Ghost announced these 2 arena shows, in New York and LA, upset that Ghost is headlining arena. And I'm like, why would anyone ever be upset that someone else is successful just because they don't personally like the band? That's insane to me.
Yeah, ever so much.
Well,
also,
band I don't like, but I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be mad upset that they're successful. It's it's a heavy band with guitars playing arenas.
That's great.
Shouldn't we want more? Wouldn't we want more of that?
Well, it just opens doors. Just opens doors for more bands to be doing that.
Of course. You don't think I would kill to get Battles on the Tour with Ghost? That'd be amazing. Reach their fans. That'd be incredible. And they're bringing kids in, and they're bringing adults, and they're, they write great songs. I don't get why people don't like them, but I guess that's just the way it is. This stuff is subjective, and some people like this, some people like that. But, I'm just happy that there are bands moving up the ranks, because the truth is, as you see, it's Slayer's not going to be here soon. Judas Priest, who knows how long they're going to be around.
Yeah.
Ozzy's not going to be here soon. we need these new bands to come up and be these headliners. You know, it's so important.
Well, it's just getting it and keeping the traditions of getting people out of their houses and going to see live entertainment, because there is so many, you know, everybody's entertainment options are in their house, and you know, just getting people out to shows is getting harder and harder, and it's something that's got to be encouraged. Doesn't matter who's filling the stadium. Yeah,
no doubt.
You know, it's an absolutely insane that bands having to work as hard as ever to get people to come to shows and need it more than ever. And yeah, like you say, you know, it's like if there's a guitar-paced band who is selling out an arena, then you know, good, because it means people are still into that shit.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
On the same page, sir.
Well, yes. I'm just remembering. Did you say you're in Austin, Texas?
Houston, Texas.
Houston, yeah. Ah, right. Are you going? Are you playing Austin?
We are playing Austin over the summer with 5 Finger Death Punch,
right.
Breaking Benjamin, and Nothing More.
Right. Okay. No, I was just for some reason I thought you'd said you were in Austin, not Houston, because I was wondering, having been chatting about Godless there, if Chuck was going to come down and say hello. But obviously you're not in his town.
I have to catch him. Yeah, I have to catch him when we come through there. I gotta get in touch with him.
Cool, man. Cool. Well, look, when you do, say hello, and thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Of course, brother. Anything I can do, man. I always got to support my podcast brothers.
Yeah, absolutely. And podcast brothers and Twitter brothers as well. So
Twitter brothers, that's right.
I'll make sure that you are tagged everywhere in this. It'll be out the end of the month, but I'll send you a message when it's gonna be coming.
That's right. At Doc Coyle, guys, follow me.
Yeah. Don't worry. I'll do a good old advert for you, Doc.
Awesome, man. You take care of yourself. Thank you so much.
No problem. You too. Best of luck with the Bad Wolves, man. Really rooting for you.
Cheers, man. Bye-bye.
Cool. Take care. Bye-bye. And that was a cool chat with Doc. It suddenly struck me, actually, that he was... hang on a sec. Okay, just making sure that I hadn't got any more of that Mickey Mouse shit going on that I've had over the last few episodes. Anyway, it suddenly struck me whilst I was listening back to that interview that Doc and I follow each other on Twitter. Hence, we were able to direct message each other and get this sorted out. And the reason we're connected on Twitter is because we liked tweets of each other's in response to Chuck and Godless when they were at Metal Sucks, and we've been following each other on Twitter ever since. So it's kind of like a family tree here: Godless first, and then catching up with Doc, which there you go. It's just cool, isn't it? Top man, I'm sure you'll agree, and definitely worth signing up to the X-Man podcast as well. There's some really cool guests on there, and in fact, I think Godless is due on there as well. He is, and so definitely worth checking out the Bad Wolves as well, and just checking out everything Doc does, because whatever he does it 100%, and the quality is always good. So, moving on, it's been, I woke up this morning, I woke up this morning to the incredibly sad news, that, former Anal Cunt guitarist Josh Martin, has died. And for those of you who only know Anal Cunt through their hilarious song titles, you know they've been inactive since the singer died. And if there was ever a way that a member of Anal Cunt was going to leave this world, this is the way to do it. He was fucking about on an escalator banister and fell off and died of head injuries. Now, if that's not the way to go out... I don't know what is. It's incredibly sad and in an inopportune way to die. I guess that's a strange way of describing any way to die. I guess they're all in inopportune ways. There's nobody, oh, look, there's my opportunity to die. I think I'll grab that. Although, I don't know, the old film director, Tony Scott, remember him? You know, True Romance and all that, brother of Ridley Scott, found out he had terminal brain cancer and did a header off a bridge. And for somebody who made shit action films, he even died in a shit action film kind of way, which I thought was pretty fucking opportune. There you go. I've come full circle. I've justified my bullshit sentence. That's more like it. I'm back. Full on, both barrels. Come on, let's have ya. Well, while we're about it, why don't I hit you all up with a great interview? I would say that, wouldn't I? It's a great interview with a podcast subscriber. Yes, that's right. This is the section that you can choose to miss. I got Nick Russell, who is a Patreon subscriber. That's patreon.com/Howard H. Smith. It's a Patreon subscriber who I had a chat with and just discussed the kind of crap that I put out that I laughingly call exclusive content that's worth money. And here is what Nick thinks.
Hello.
Hello, is that Nick?
Oh yeah, Howard, how you doing?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
I'm good, very good, mate.
Excellent. Are you in good shape to extol the virtues of my online begging?
Oh, definitely, yes, definitely.
see how I've just gone straight in there.
That's it, of course. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go for the throat from the beginning.
That's it. Not none of this. How are you? Or what do you do? Where are you from? None of that shit.
Yeah, show me the money almost.
That's it. Yeah, you're on here to do an advert. Go on, get on with it. No.
Yeah. No, but that's it. I mean, that's the whole point of it. It's cool. It's cool.
Cool. So, straight off, how long have you been listening to the podcast for?
Oh, how long have you been doing them now? Is it 3 years? 4 years?
Good question. I think I'm in my fourth year. I think it's
been about 3 or 2.5 to 3 probably. But then I went, maybe about 2 actually. But then I went back and I've listened to all the original ones as well and everything. So, but yeah, at least good 2 years, definitely.
That's interesting. Listening back, did you? Is there any trends, or is there any kind of like? Is there any noticeable differences, or I don't know? I'm interested because it's not something I'm ever going to do.
I don't know. I don't think there's any noticeable differences from when you started. Really, I think it's. I mean, this is like a criticism, but I think it's one of the beauties of it. It's the almost ramshackle way that sometimes the podcasts go.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one of the features of it, that it's not polished, and it's real. That's the thing that gets it, that it's real.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Cheers.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's being, I think, a music fan of. I mean, I'm in my 50s now, and I think from the time of when you were around as well, and that it's a lot of it is. It brings back memories of stuff that you remember. I remember when I was growing up and listening to stuff. But it's just interesting as well. Interesting, informative, and above all else, funny.
Oh, good.
It is. It's just, sometimes I say at work and I have my headphones on, and I do get some odd looks because I'm chuckling away to myself.
Oh, that's really cool. That's exactly the experience I was hoping people would be having. That's awesome. So, how long have you been a Patreon subscriber then?
I think from when you first put it up there. Right. I think as soon as you put it up there, I went on and did the one. Although I have to say, I haven't done the Acid Rain one. I just do the Talking Bollocks one.
Well, the funny thing is that basically once you subscribe, you get it all.
Yeah.
There's no difference between the Acid Rain one and the Talking Bollocks one. It's all right. So you're getting everything as it is.
As it is, yeah. Yeah, no, as soon as it was, and the bottom line is, anybody that's doing, anybody and everybody can do a podcast, but there comes a point when you have to get some support for it, and that's why, quite happy to do the Patreon thing, because, if you enjoy it, would I want it where I don't get a chance to listen to Talking Bollocks? No, it'd be, it wouldn't be the same, and I'd miss out. You've got so many stories to tell.
Well, yeah, I have. That's really cool. And it's great. I really appreciate the support. I'm going total advert now. Is it worth it? Do you find the standard of content up to snuff?
Yeah. Do you know what? Yeah. I mean, it's £3 a month or thereabouts. Yeah. I never quite figure out the dollars part of it because it's an American company, but £3 a month, 75p a week, and you get, the little snippets that are great, some of the little bits, to do with the band and stuff, and then the funnily enough, the one you did where you were in Glasgow the other day,
yeah,
and you were in Lebowski's,
yes.
I saw that, and my friend's getting married on Saturday, and they're going to Scotland for 2 weeks for the honeymoon, and they're going to Glasgow, and I says, you need to get into here. This is she said, it's just round the corner from where we're staying.
Oh, brilliant.
So she's going,
yeah.
I think all the bits that, some of the extra bollocasts, that go on for an hour or even longer than that. It's great because you just get a little bit more of, sometimes you think, if you listen to a 3-hour podcast, you think, oh, you'd be had enough of, but then you just like, no, I want to know all the stories that you couldn't tell in the Bollocast for whatever reason.
Yeah. I mean, I am, and I've just realised as well that we've just had a complete discussion that people listening won't actually get. The reference to Lebowski's and everything. So yes. I'll set that up at the beginning of this bit if I remember, right, okay. And if I don't, fuck it. But I mean, I will reveal a little bit more, some little odds and ends here and there of information, and certainly as regards Acid Rain and the making of and stuff. There's been, I've put quite a few exclusive MP3s in there of live shows from back in the day and more recently, and just a few bits and pieces, just really wanting to make people feel kind of engaged and part of the process.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I think it is different insight into things. I mean, the one where you're doing the vocals. Traditionally back in the day, you would be in a studio. Whereas you're in somebody's room.
Yeah, well, I'm in Pete's studio, Pete's cupboard. But believe it or not, that's where it all gets done these days. Certainly pre-production, but we will be going into a proper studio, I assure you.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? It's just the fact of how different. I mean, even like you'd go to a rehearsal studio, you'd probably rehearse. You'd never think of playing in. Maybe at the very beginning in somebody's bedroom or garage or something, but the fact that you're doing that sort of work in there, and Pete's, is that where all the classic records are as well?
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
I was well impressed with that because I was watching that going, I had that. I remember that.
Well, funnily enough, Pete had been showing me a few things before. We're talking about content. I'm addressing the listener now. We're talking about content that I've put up in Patreon. In fact, we should probably stop doing that because then it sounds even more wanky, and people are going to be listening to this going, "All right, I've got the fucking point." There's no need to go on about stuff that we haven't seen.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you. I'm really glad that you're enjoying it. That you think it's all worthwhile.
Oh, definitely. I think for what you're having to pay out, it's nothing in this day and age. It's absolutely nothing, and you get enjoyment out of it. I mean, for me, I find out things, little things, and like you say, little snippets. Some of the little snippets of songs. Bits from Hammerfest and what have you, that you wouldn't normally see, And it's just you just get so much more of it's just that 24-hour a day talking bollocks. That's what you want.
Oh, you don't, mate. Believe you me, because I am with me 24 hours a day, and I annoy the living shit out of me. So, oh, mate. Well, look, Nick, I really appreciate you coming on and talking about
That's
this.
All right.
Thank you very much, mate. And yeah, give me more. Pay more. Increase your donation, you tight bastard.
If that's what you need, that's what you need. But no, it's fine. It's, you know, anything to try and help. You know, like I say, I think the thing with having the chance to help somebody do something even more, you know, rather than not having it here, is and for what it is, it's like I say, it's nothing. You know, it's.
And do you like the feature whereby I'll post who I'm going to interview, and you can like, you know, chuck in some of your questions if you want?
Yes, yeah. That's really good, because I think I did put in something for when it was Malcolm Dome.
Right.
There was a question, I think.
And did I ask it?
Them, but yeah, I think it was. If I remember rightly, it was. Is there anybody that you reviewed that you at the time that you thought was rubbish, but then following no further to that?
Yes, yeah, I remember the question. I don't remember the answer, but I remember the question.
Yeah, I think he did. I can't remember what he said. I think there was something that he did say that there was. I think, but I can't remember what it was. But yeah, I mean that you do get that further engagement as well. You know, it's you know, you get the opportunity to think, oh, you know, it's only a little thing, but I'm contributing. You know, and if it's something that I want to know about, you know, then I'm getting an answer to it, you know, so all the better.
You get to contribute to a podcast and get a question answered that you've always wanted to know the answer to. And that is why people need to be signing up at Patreon in their thousands. Look, I really appreciate that, Nick. Thank you very much for coming on and do it and being my advert. And hang on in there, and I'll get some more new stuff up there soon.
Yeah, no worries. That's great.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And there is what Nick thinks to all of that lovely content that I've been making for you guys on Patreon. So, yeah, look, you know, that is enough. All I will say is Patreon is spelled Patreon, patreon.com/Howard H. Smith. I'm probably going to lose subscribers having done this. But if you want to sign up and check it out, there's all sorts going up this month. There is every month exclusive downloads of, there's an extra Bollocast and all sorts of stuff. Anyway. So it's time for some music, because we are just coming up to 2 hours now. The reason why I did it's a sort of shorter interview podcast is, and I'm only going to play a couple of tracks, but I did want to put some music in here for you, for bands that have not been around for a while and have come back. And on that theme, first band I'm going to play is an Australian band called Mammal. Now, I saw Mammal years ago before they split up in a tiny bar in London. They were absolutely fucking awesome. They've done it. They had a debut live album, got that. They've got a studio album, got that. Live DVD, got that. Single, got that. I'm just a fan. And some of you are going to listen to this and think, right, okay, that's not what I was expecting. But hey, that's what it's all about. It's about expanding our boundaries. And the song's only about 3.5 minutes anyway, so if you don't like it, whatever. But anyway, this is one of 2 new songs released by Mammal, who said they'd never play again, they'd never work together again, and they're back together, and I, for one, am very pleased about it. This is Mammal and Community.
All this negativity, tight shot on a Ponzi scheme. Switchblade is a remedy, devil in the detail, pumping up a new feel. You win when you're fighting back. Roundhouse on a batting crack. Front foot is the only tack. You were getting stronger every time I palmed out. I got community, you feel it too. I got the same things in my head that you do. I got community, you feel it too. The same emotions as you. That you do. I positivity. Smack down on a fascist scene. Meet now in a time machine. Never going backward, prison getting fractured. Lift up on a melody. Fist up on a daydream. Love shot for the refugee. Growing up stronger, ending all the hunger. Ha, ha, I got community, you feel it too. Ha, ha, I got the same things in my head that you do. Ha, ha, I got community, you feel it too. Feel it too, the same emotions as you. That you do, I got, yeah, the same things in my head that you do. That you do, I got, yeah, the same things in my head that you do. The same things in my head that you do. Can you feel it, feel it, feel it too? Same things in my head that you do. That's why we're keeping on the memory of a new drop felony. Upside down and they hit you with a new law. Better line a place and kick it evermore. Keeping on the memory of a new drop felony. Of a new drop felony. Better line a place and kick it evermore. Upside down when they hit you with a new law. Never time to play, get your back against another wall. Upside down, hit you with a new law. Like a Mack truck evermore. Hit me up about it when you get a chance to tap it on the screen. It fills your vision of a waterfall. Hit me up about it when you get a chance to tap it on the screen. It fills your vision of a waterfall. That you do. I got, yeah, the same things in my head that you do. That you do. I got, yeah, the same things in my head that you do. Same things in my head that you do. Can you feel it, feel it, feel it too? I got the same things in my head that you do. The same emotions as you.
Yeah, get some mammal in your ears. Hey, it's not the most original stuff you've ever heard, but I'm just a fan. They're one of those bands that I can't explain it, but I'm a huge fan. And yeah, just look, if you're into it, check it out. If you're not, don't. The other band that I've become a huge fan of very recently, I discovered this. Here we go. I slagged off Blabbermouth earlier, and now I'm gonna fucking say it's really cool. It's not, but they're shit at reviewing stuff. But they reviewed an album by a band called The Crown called Cobra Speed Venom. Some of you might be listening to this, might not have known they're back. Some of you have never heard of them. Well, I'm one of those people who'd never heard of them, and it's absolutely bizarre. I just discovered them. It's kind of, at times it's like old school death metal, and at times it's like not old school death metal. At times it's quite melodic, and I mean there's 13 tracks. And there's different stuff going on here. There is genuinely really different stuff going on here. I'd certainly suggest that some of you try and check this out. The album, again, it's called Cobra Speed Venom. And this is the track Iron Crown.
Burning the fires of industry.
pretty cool, huh? And you heard it all there, you know, a kind of sort of punky intro riff, and then into sort of like brutal death metal. There's a chorus in there, Iron Crown. It's just, there's just something about the Crown, man. I'm really, really, really liking that new album. Once again, Cobra, Speed, Venom, The Crown. Check that shit out. And that brings us to the end of the podcast, folks. Look, I'm, as always, indebted to all of you for listening. You know, I love doing this. I'm going to continue to do it. I know I say this every month, but I love being in your ears. I really do. And it's been, what can I say? It's a laugh. Hey, we have a laugh, don't we? Hey? Oh, we have a laugh. We have a little bit of a giggle. Well, I do. I have a laugh at myself. And you lot pretty much laugh at me, as opposed to with me. I get that. It's all right. That's the relationship we have. I understand that. I am a service provider. That is what I do. That is what I am. I am just the performing monkey. And that's absolutely fine. That's my role in life. And yours is to listen to the podcast, which you're doing right now. And where are you? Hey, are you in the supermarket? Are you, are you bored somewhere? You at work. I know a lot of, this does my head in, but a lot of people are allowed to have earbuds in when they work in IT departments. Hello, IT. Graphic artists. Hello, graphic artists. Hello, all of you people out there who are at work listening to this through your earbuds. Your boss is a cunt! Hope you didn't hear that. Hope you had your earbuds in there. Hey, and look at that dickhead over there. Hey, look at him. Every fucking day he does that. Don't you just want to smash him in the face? Isn't he getting on your nerves by now, doing that? Hey? Oh, God, there's always somebody, isn't there? There's always somebody in the office. As soon as they start talking, it just makes your teeth grate. Oh, God, shut up, hey? Why don't you shut up with your opinions? Somebody who just... It's either opinions or those people who throw out, like, half facts, as in something that's half right. And the thing is that you don't want to keep correcting them because then you look like the twat. You look like the twat despite the fact that they're spouting half... It's almost nonsense because it's half right, and you want to clarify it and say, well, actually, no, people have two legs, not one leg, and or people who do things like, well, flat earthers, they're entitled to their opinion. No, they're not. You're not entitled to your opinion on which there's on facts. You're entitled to your opinion on other stuff. Okay, you're entitled to believe in any magic cloud-dwelling being that you can think of and stuff like that. That's fine, but you're not allowed to your own opinion on things like whether the Earth is flat or not. You fucking fool! It's not flat. It's round. And you know what? Somebody actually sent me a message on YouTube comment section. Just don't do it. But somebody sent me. I'd slagged off flat earthers or something, and somebody commented on, seriously, man, it's worth looking at the research. There is no research. You know why? Because there's no need to do any, because we spent hundreds of years proving it. It's proven. It's done. Right? It's over. It's done. No research has been done into flat earth. You know why? Nobody is willing to spend any serious amounts of money on researching it, because anybody with that kind of money is relatively intelligent and isn't prepared to spend it. And there is no other bodies out there interested in proving it. I mean, fucking hell, somebody was telling me the other day about a neighbour of theirs who said that we need to campaign against gravity, and that gravity is somehow dangerous. What? No, people who believe gravity is dangerous are the ones who are fucking dangerous. There's your fucking rule for you right there. Jesus fucking honestly, unbelievable. These people exist. One of them is a neighbour of a friend of mine. I was like, I don't know, maybe I live in this world where I do not bump into people who hold these opinions. I seem to operate in a world where these people don't exist. Here's another thing as well on Facebook where people go like, oh, I've just seen that, 27 people that are in my friends list like the BNP. Well, don't just indiscriminately accept friends on Facebook for no fucking reason. Do a bit of research. I looked at the BNP. I've got God knows how many friends on Facebook. None. No people on there following the BMP. Oh, what a surprise. Yeah, stop clicking. Just, oh yeah, no problem. You could be me, mate. And people on Facebook trying to trigger debates, triggering people, and oh God. I'm back to slagging social media off, and do you know what? I'd like to thank Twitter for making this episode happen, because if it wasn't for Twitter, I wouldn't have become friends with Godless, and I wouldn't have become contacts with Doc, and hence this episode would have just been me moaning about my fucking arm like a twat. So there you go. That's been the theme of this podcast. Me slagging stuff off, then realising it was wrong, and somehow backtracking. It's been an odd one, hasn't it? Normally, I'm just a cunt. But today, I've managed to be slightly more self-aware cunt than normal. Or have I? Who knows? Fuck it. Who actually fucking cares? Till next month. Speak to you then. Have a good one. Cheers. Actually, do you know what? Fuck it. Let's finish with another track off Cobra Speed Venom. Yeah, because that's how much I'm enjoying it. And I think this track gives you an idea of how there's just really different stuff all over the album. Gonna play here's The Crown playing us out with a track from Cobra Speed Venom. I can't say that title enough. I fucking love it. It's mental. It shouldn't work, but it does. And this track is called We Avenge. Speak to you next month. This is off Cobra Speed Venom. I love saying it. Cobra Speed Venom, The Crown, We Avenge. Here it is now, coming at you live in your ears.